What's up, summoners? King Blair here. Today, we're going to be talking about the current Mystic banner hero, Moon Bunny Dominiel, and whether or not you should pull for her, as well as quickly discussing the Covenant side and what is going to be coming next, so you can better plan for your bookmark summons. But if you like the video, make sure you like, subscribe, and your Discord server, link in the description. Without further ado, let's get right into it. Started with a summary of the heroes as well as to what's coming next. So first, on the Covenant side, what is coming next? You should absolutely be saving right now, no matter what hero is out there right now, unless like Hua and you don't have a Hua. But even then, we are going to be getting a collab, right? And the collab is going to be coming in just about 2 weeks, and we are likely going to be getting 2 back-to-back limited hero banners, and these heroes tend to be pretty game changing, right? And it's going to be with Full Metal Alchemist. So yeah, make sure you're saving your bookmarks, make sure you have enough. As far as the actual heroes that are on the banner right now, both Bellona and Rona are not bad, but they're going to be here the whole time. They're not limited. And you honestly could go out without someone like Bellona. She's mostly going to be an early game PvE damage dealer. I used her a lot in the earlier day because of her damage scaling with the enemy's HP. But a lot of the different content has changed to not make her be as strong as she used to be. As far as Rana, she's going to be one of a cornerstone for people that are trying to get more into autoing content. She's a cornerstone for auto hell raid. You kind of just drop her in there and your team just stays alive because the enemy has so many counterattacks. So it's really easy to auto with her in your team. She's also really good for autoing arena, right? Because in PvP arena, there's a lot of dual attack heroes and she tends to do really good. You kind of just drop her in there and you kind of just relax and chill, right? So she's definitely a very strong unit, really good against enemies with extra attacks and counterattacks. But again, she gets reruns very often and you should be considering saving for that collab coming in just about 2 weeks. Now, for the meat and potatoes of this video, Moon Bunny Dominiel. You guys may not know how I feel about this, but the 4-star summon in the Mystic, well, it is really cool that they have this option. I'm personally not a big fan of it because you're essentially giving up the opportunity for dropping down pity on your 5-star side, right? So if you're someone that's like me and you're 165 summons from your ML 5-star and you're summoning for Moon like Dominiel and you're trying to go all the way down to pity for her, then it's kind of like you're kind of wasting the potential for the future to try to get down to pity for a 5-star hero that could potentially completely change your account, right? So it's one of those things that's like, yeah, you got to take it with a grain of salt, but you're trying to get for a specific 4-star hero, right? In this case, it would be Dominiel. If you're someone that's at pity, it's not the worst idea to actually try to summon on the 4-star hero if you really like the hero, right? If you're at pity on the 5-star, and maybe you do like Fallen Cecilia, you don't want to pull for her and waste your pity on her, but you would be happy if you got her, and you really want Moonlight Dominiel, that's also a pretty decent choice. But how is she as a unit? So that's just like the summoning system on its own, which is a completely different topic. But how is she on her own, right? So as far as Moonlight Dominiel and what she does, a lot of people underestimate what she can actually do. But essentially, if you want to mark it down, she's going to be more of an aggro slash cleave unit because she functions primarily to set up an aggro slash cleave team with a really, really good CR push into attack buff, right? Really, really great. She's going to be really fit that role really well, as well as having some potential to counter extra turn units, right? But let's actually look a little bit deeper into her kit. Do I still think that it's worth summoning on that? No, just because of how the way the system is. But if you really like her and you like what she can do, it's definitely not a bad idea. But let's actually look deeper into her kit so you can get a better idea on how she functions. I keep forgetting that she's not a mage. I always make that mistake. She's actually a Soul Weaver, so you have to start thinking Soul Weaver artifacts, right? So as far as stat line, she's going to be a Soul Weaver, which she just has access to things like Doctor's Bag. She has access to some of the healing artifacts, right? That's the typical Soul Weaver ones. And as far as base stats, it doesn't seem too impressive at first, but then you realize how RTA functions, and RTA gives an extra, I believe, 7 speed to Soul Weavers. So she has 114 speed, but an RTA that's going to be an extra 7. She also has very high FRS, one of the highest FRS in the game, just starting off. And I think she also gets health off her imprint. But again, not bad, right? Pretty bulky, really fast when you the grand scheme of things. In RTA, you're talking about a 121 speed unit, right? That's pretty fast. The only things faster than her are going to be things like a Sid and Peyra and a Kali and Ran, right? Those are the things. She's going to be on the same speed tier as someone like Conquer Lilius, and likely probably going to be faster. Just keep that in mind, and the self-imprint being health, helps her be a little bit tankier, and you will probably get most of this, since she's a 4-star. So let's actually look at the kit and what she does. A lot of people are so fixated on her just being an extra turn counter that they ignore the S3 and her base speed completely. So I really want to highlight that her base speed in RTA is way higher, right? Because of the extra Soul Weaver speed that they're giving her. But as far as the S1, Pretty simple, right? It's just puts them to sleep, and you get a 100% chance to put them to sleep. Of course, it's still 15%. Not crazy, but pretty annoying, right? Could get pretty annoying. Really cool animations, by the way. This is the first time I actually see her S1 animation. I didn't even realize she was switching between a moon and a sun. That's really cool. Really cool animations. Epic 7 has been doing some great animations. But that's her S1, pretty basic. Des 2, which is the part that most people are very fixated on, is going to be her extra turn counter aspect. So she gets the extra FRS here. That's why she has such high base FRS. At the start of an enemy's extra turn, so think Conquer Lilius, think Landy, think Hua Young Soulburn, think Landy Soulburn, think Stennis Soulburn, right? There's a lot of things that get extra turns right now. But at the start of the extra turn, you get immunity, and you get barrier to all allies, and a pretty decent barrier, proportional to a caster's max health, right? So it depends how much health you build her in, and you can only activate it once every 2 turns, assuming the enemy is a hero. This part really killed her potential for PvE, which is why she's not a PvE unit at all. If this did not have a condition, she would actually be an incredibly good PvE hero. But because she has this restriction that it has to be a hero, she has no PvE presence, right? So that kind of sucks for her. Not sure why they added that, but yeah. But as far as against heroes, this is primarily going to be a counter to Conquer Lilius, especially in things like Arena and Guild Wars, because you have a surefire way to get immunity and a barrier. And if you give her Doctor's Bag, the artifact, you're able to cleanse the attack break when you do your S3, right? So it's a very, very solid counter to Lilius in those situations. But in RTA, it doesn't do too much against her if the player is just going to be doing S1s with Lilius or just S2s with Lilius. So that's something to keep in mind. And that's why the people think she's just a bad hero, because they're just fixated on her as a counter. And they're like, oh, Paris still gets through this because Paris still gets to S3. She puts too many debuffs for you to cleanse. Or they say Rand will just strip it, right? Which is true. But that's not really what she's all necessarily just there to do. The other part is her base speed and her S3. That is a part that most people seem to ignore. That is going to be a nice little 20% CR push, as well as an attack buff to all allies. That is shockingly nice, because you're talking about, I believe she's the fastest combat readiness pusher in the game as far as like an AoE one, right? When I'm thinking of like the closest one is like Judith. And Judith, like, you guys know the nightmares of 4-star Judith. She essentially kind of does the same thing, but she's also giving attack buff, right? So that's a part that a lot of people seem to be underestimating, is that she's a very fast setup unit, right? And that's how most people are actually going to be using her in RTA. So if you're someone that has a very good aggro draft that can benefit from an attack buff and speeding with a Moonlight Dami, she's actually really good. If you're just using her to counter Lilius in RTA, you're gonna be pretty disappointed, right? Because she can still clap as she can still get clapped by Lilius in RTA, right? But if you're using her more for the setup and the S2 is more like a nice little add-on, then you're actually gonna have a lot more success with her. So overall, she has a lot of potential. I think she's a fine unit. Do I think she's worth pitting or dumping all your resources into? Not really. But if you really like the aggro playstyle and you really want to use your mystics on this side banner, then by all means, you're welcome to. I personally wouldn't, even though I think she's an okay unit. It's again, you're losing out on potentially, pitting a future very important ML5 star hero, unless you're already close to pity and you don't need to save. And then by all means, you can definitely try to pull it that way, or if you really like the design. But that's all I got for you guys today. I did fight a couple in RTA. Finally made Emperor again. Try to unwash myself so I would know what's going on in the game again. But as far as people that actually used it, I mean, this person tried to use it against me. They didn't have enough damage. They thought about doing it. They had the Dominiel, the right kind of setup, kind of right mindset, where you get Polides and Dami, and you get that attack buff, and you get to outspeed, but they were able to follow through, and they didn't have the damage, right? So I just ended up killing the Polides in one. And then someone else kind of had a similar idea here. But again, they just didn't have the damage to push through, and they didn't have a way to deal with my Celine, right? So there's still counters to Dominiel, but you can see how people are experimenting with her and get an idea of some drafts that some higher level Emperor players are testing out. But that's all I got for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed, and good luck on all your summons. Peace.